Yeah, and the other thing I want to say is that it's not just millennials that have attention span challenges. I think the research has been done, and it's about 7 minutes of intense material that anyone can absorb before they need a break. And while I don't do technology in all my classrooms, and the ones where I don't use ALEKS, I give my students a chance to work on an example problem every 7 to 15 minutes or so, and that concept of breaking up material has existed since the 60s, when no millennials were born. So just to say, it's not about that. All right. And another thing that is a common misconception is that microlearning is all about video. There is a great microlearning format called Khan Academy that does use a ton of video, and it's an excellent, it gets my recommendation, I guess. But that's not what microlearning is. It can be a lot of formats. The ALEKS format that I use in my classroom is all type. Okay, so does microlearning work? I think so. Here's a study done at Boise State University, showed for Calculus 1, it was engineering students in Calculus 1. The ones who were doing it with ALEKS received an A, B, or C. 79% of them received an A, B, or C. The ones who were in the Calc 1 without ALEKS, it was only 49%. So it's a fairly significant difference. Some things I've noticed in my class since switching to this format are pass rates have increased from, and it's not huge, from 62% to 67%, but it's measurable. It's not a huge pool of students that I got this number from, so that's something to consider as well. A better metric would have been taking several semesters and going forward several semesters as well, but I only have 2 semesters to compare. I also want to point out that not only is there increase in pass rates, but the class actually increased in rigor from what I was doing before to what I'm doing now, for a couple reasons. It's covering a larger amount of material, and it's harder to get certain types of points. It requires a certain amount more competency. I also observe anecdotally that my students seem to understand the concepts that they've been taught better. So not only is the pass rate higher, I think that pass rate actually is indicative of better understanding. And this is my favorite one. Of the 14 students who spent greater than 65 hours in the ALEKS course throughout the semester, and that 65 hours comes from your financial aid requirement. It's a 3-credit course, and this is judging from spending. So the financial aid requirement is 1 to 2 hours outside of class for every 1 hour inside of class. This is a 3-credit course, and I'm saying they're spending 1.5 hours outside of class, so right in the middle there. So of the students who did spend greater than 65 hours, 100% of those passed. 13 of those, or 92%, got a C or better. The one person who got a D had some extenuating circumstances, language barrier, and was not able to attend class for the last 2 weeks. So those are some significant differences. They still managed to pass. So those are my observations. The thing that I like most about ALEKS is that it increases my students' confidence. A study that done at Missouri Western showed that students at the end of the ALEKS course were asked if they agreed with the statement, I am now more confident in my ability to do math, and I am now more confident in my ability to be a successful college student, and over 90% of them said yes, that they were. So that is huge, because coming into developmental ed, realizing that you're behind what is typically college level can be really demoralizing, and sometimes these people really don't have the skills to be ready for college level. And the biggest thing that I can give them is the confidence to continue, keep going. Yeah, and I'm only a couple weeks into the semester this year, and I've already had 2 or 3 students come back to me and give me feedback saying, we really like this course. This is a really good way for me to learn. So All right, some closing thoughts. The main thing that I like about microlearning is it instills confidence. And microlearning can be applied to a lot of areas of your life. One of them for me is I have always wanted to be better at speaking German. I took 4 years in high school and some of it stuck, some of it didn't. But I've been spending time in the last few months working with Duolingo, and I'm finally to a point where I can actually read like Facebook posts, small articles, little stuff. But it's a noticeable change over a short period of time. So it's increased my confidence. Language has never been a natural gift for me, so it was nice to be able to do this. Another thought I had is a little over 5 years ago, I could not run more than a minute at a time. And that's being nice about it. Maybe run 30 seconds. And I decided to kind of apply this concept to the running world, and Matt was calling it micro-training this morning. And so I would run for 30 seconds and then walk, and then run for another 30 seconds and then walk for a while. And after doing that for a long time, I got to a point where I could run a marathon. So I feel like that's a fairly good selling point for this philosophy. And my goal of telling you all about this is to think about something that you would love to learn and realize that it's within your reach, you're capable. And it may just take breaking it down into smaller chunks, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think the people who micro-learn or micro-train sometimes learn or train better than having done it another way. So, that's all I have.
Speaking of breaking things into chunks, you've been sitting for a long time. So everybody stand up. Let's do, we have the flexibility, arms above your head, and if you can, interlace your fingers into a point, or if you're really flexible, turn your hands around, and then we're going to lift the chest, and pick a direction, and lean over. Feel the stretch each side, up. Don't forget to breathe, and then the other side, whichever side you pick. And shake out. That's how I set myself up watch people. It's also how I run, which is why I don't. That's so.
understand. How I can see it when you understand. All the signs, I knew what they meant. Some things you can't invent. Some get made, some get sent. Birds go flying from the deep sound, show you how it all began. Birds go flying from the underground. If you can see it, then you'll understand. How we can see it, then you'll understand.
Hello. I volunteered to do the one thing I know. And when I thought, what am I going to talk about? It's like, well, the one thing I know is there's a lot more I don't know than what I do know. And when I was younger, and even to this day, sometimes I can think of myself as like, I can be kind of thinking I'm really smart, really kind of full of myself, and sometimes I need to like humble myself because, when you're 18 or so, you think you know everything. We all did. We all went through that, right? And so then I went off to college. I was the first person in my family to ever get an education beyond high school. And I didn't know what to expect. And, I really found out that, it's much more challenging than high school, and everybody was smart there. So, and then I had preconceived ideas about the world. And so I took classes about things and learned about things and realized, maybe things aren't the way that didn't match my preconceived ideas. For example, philosophy. I thought, what could be worse than taking a philosophy class? That sounded like the worst possible way to spend time. But, I was too lazy to take a class on the opposite end of the campus, and so I signed up. I signed up for philosophy because it was like, maybe two buildings over from where my dorm was. So I learned that philosophy is pretty cool, and that was my favorite class in my college career, days. So, in fact, I liked it so much that I ended up auditing a philosophy class just for the fun of it. I didn't get a grade, I didn't have to do the papers, but it's like I get to show up and I get to learn. And there was a philosophy club I joined, and it's like, this is pretty cool. So, it had nothing to do with my major, but I thought it really, really helped my understanding and my growth. And then, I get into, I graduate, and then eventually I go back to school and get a second degree after I moved to Minnesota. And, I think of myself as pretty much an Excel expert, but a couple of weeks ago, this colleague of mine in India, who basically works as kind of my assistant, or a shared assistant with other people, I'm tasked with training him and how to do things, and I think of myself as the world's expert in Excel, but not so. There's still so much more to learn. He taught me some things that really made me much more efficient, and was able to get a lot more accomplished. So I thank him, and I think the key is, there's always more to learn, and we have preconceived ideas that we're going to like something or we're not. We think we know it all, but there's so much. The amount to learn is limitless, and we should be open to that and learn something new every day. So that's the one thing I know.
Thank you, Tom. Pardon me. So we're going to take a moment to think about the three bigger pieces that we've heard today about focusing on changing your life, looking at breaking things down into chunks and learning them one step at a time. And there's so much more in life. But let's take a moment in silence to think of those things. What can we do in our lives to make some of that happen? Okay, we can really. Oh, millennial wannabe. I'm so behind the times. Thinking about what we've heard today was really rather poignant, and I loved how they interlaced with each other. Starting off with Ben's talk, and I loved how you titled it, "Changing My Password Changed My Life." It was beautiful. I've never thought of that before. Never thought of a password like that, and yet what a wonderful way to incorporate something as silly as that to a life-changing event. And then we fold it into the micro-learning. Taking life one step at a time, and as Aaron said, it's not a new, the idea of learning in chunks isn't new. I remember in the 80s, a company I was at jumped on the bandwagon with Tom Peters, management expert at the time, and he was into what he called skunk works, taken from an old comic book. And he talked about chunking, taking projects and chunking them into doable pieces. And to do that, especially down to 5 to 15 minutes, I thought was pretty cool, and rewarded for your effort. And we should all be rewarded for the effort of being here today. We're taking a step just by being here with each other. And I wanted to give kudos to Aaron too, because as an educator, I know you played it down, but a 5% increase, even if it's on a small group like that, congratulations. That's pretty cool. It's neat to see the progress. And coming as a theater teacher, I will say I've never taught math, but I've never been a math teacher, but I have played one on stage. And I, it's a little harder for me because I don't get to see those. The state doesn't test for theater, so I don't know how much better the kids are getting. Although I did think I thought the rewards were great because I could see integrating theater into that because I could see the count coming up on that screen. Blah, one topic learned. You know, it would have been great. So, but then tying that up, and it's amazing how three people can have talks and not talk to each other, and yet they come together so beautifully. Tom wraps it up with, there is so much more out there for us to move forward, to grow, to become more than we are now. And that's what, to me, that's what the human experience is all about, even for millennials. So I will close with that, just to think about that. Think about what you do with your life, how you can break it down, and how much more you can do as you move on. A sample of Smoops. I'm going to move right into announcements so I can get this done. We have, oh, I didn't see that, I'm sorry. We're going to be collecting mittens, gloves, scarves, and hats at next month's Sunday Assembly. So if you, October 11th, thank you.
2 days before my birthday.
What you can to share with those in need. Do you know what organization we're working with, or does it matter?
We're working on it.
Okay,
We're working on it, but probably the
that's fine. Odd name for an organization, okay. Anyway, are there more up there that I need to know about? No. Thank you. Then I'll go with this list that I have. We have backyard movie night. It does say to be determined, but it had been determined. We just didn't get to the program people. We are shooting for, weather permitting, next Saturday, the 19th. Might be the last one of the year, depends on weather. And speaking of anniversaries, it is, if you're not feeling old now, it's the 40th anniversary of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So we will be showing that movie Saturday night. And if you didn't hear, the box set, the new box set is coming out, and it does have a cow catapult in it. So, you know the movie, right? Wow, okay, tough crowd. Yeah. We have Wine with Ted coming up at Matt and Aaron's, the 17th. At the first talk is at 8 o'clock, so get there a little early so you can have some red wine with Aaron. And buttered popcorn. I've never had the two together.
It goes well.
Okay, I will trust you on that. And volunteer at the Monster Dash. I know we had a riot last year doing that. Monster Dash, funded by, I'm forgetting now.
Team Ortho.
Team Ortho, that's right. And the runners, it's awesome because most of them dress up in Halloween costumes. So whatever station we're at, handing out water and cheering them on, it's just fun to watch Frankenstein run by with his makeup coming down. And Action Heroes at a Soup Kitchen. We're going to serve a meal to the homeless at Higher Ground shelters. Check the meetup because the date is not firm yet. But please go to meetup. Make sure you're connected on there so that you get notifications and you can get involved. Take it away.
One more song, kind of in the way of our own summing up, wrapping up. That micro-learning, any learning of any kind of starts with perspective and starting with kind of an eyes-open approach to the world and to life and to kind of where your direction is going. So that's why I really love this particular song, because it touches directly on that.
Get them square to right. the sunlight?
Is the sunlight?
Is the shadow?
Is the shadow?
Is the quiet?
Is the quiet?
Is the work?
Is the work?
Is the beating heart?
Is a beating heart?
Is the ocean?
Is the ocean?
Is the world?
Is the world?
Is you? My sweet love. Oh, my love. And the light, bright light. Light, bright light, bright light, bright light is all around me. All around me. It's all around me. It's all around me. All around me. Or at the next one.
Membership
Annual meeting. Right now.
Mr. Piggy, Mr. Piggy.
Oh,
Mr. Piggy?
Mr. Piggy, put up Mr. Piggy first.
Annual meeting.
Ah,
We didn't mention him as
Tom, do you want to talk about Mr. Piggy?
I forgot to put the pigs out for donating money, but if you would like to give to Sunday Assembly, feel free to put something in the pig, and it's greatly appreciated. I've got them trapped in my trunk. A whole herd of pigs in my trunk. I have kept them in there all month, in the dark, with no food or air.
You think they're dead? I don't think the bacon's going to be very good.
You know.
Can I make some movie?
But it also